I can't think of anything more foundational to any type of coaching than the concepts of mindset. But then at the same time, I think there's nothing more clickbaity than to throw the word mindset into some video. So our goals are very simple today. It's to right the wrongs of every video and recording that's ever been done around something called performance mindset. Are we up for the challenge?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm born ready.
Let us begin. I'm Spencer Nix. You're Mark England.
Correct.
You're Justin Estes. Let me introduce the two of you. Mark here is a wordsmith, a mindset, don't blush when I say this, expert. And you're involved with an amazing institution called Enlifted. Justin here is the owner and a really, really gifted health and fitness coach at 3Q Fitness in Garland, Texas.
Got it.
The reason that we're here together is that you just did a workshop at Justin's gym, and Justin is a newly minted and recent graduate of your level 1 certification course. How am I doing so far?
Yeah, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Stacking them up.
How I feel, can I use a Star Wars analogy?
We already talked about MASH. Might as well get Star Wars in there.
I feel like you're Obi-Wan, you're Luke Skywalker.
Oh, so humbled.
I wanted to ask if it'd be okay if I could be Lando Calrissian. Can I?
We're making this thing up as
Okay.
of course.
You have to answer who shot first, though.
Who did
Lando.
shoot first?
Billy D. Williams,
I don't
man.
even know. I'm really happy to be here with you guys. Thank you for doing this.
Pleasure.
And I'd like to start with you, Mark. And so we don't waste any time, what is your working definition of mindset? Because as I was describing this and excited to meet with you guys, I realized like even that is a moving target. Yeah. What's your definition? And welcome.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The Enlifted definition of mindset is the story that we tell ourselves. It's the story we tell ourselves to ourselves, about ourselves, what we deserve, what we don't deserve, what we can do, what we can't do, what is possible, what isn't possible. And that story happens on the daily. It's usually the last thing people recognize before they go to sleep, that voice in their head. It's usually the first thing people recognize when they wake up. It's not like people get up out of bed, go over to the bathroom, take a leak, drink some water, drink some coffee, and then they start hearing the voice in their head. No, that's the first thing. And it's on the whole day. And that's just the internal side. Yeah, so we're telling ourselves a story, which is made up of words and breath. And when you get down to simple, things get easy, man. It's not easy to get to simple. It's hard to get to simple. But once you get to simple, things are easy. Like our definition is the most simple in the game. Mm-hmm. You can ask Google, you get 17 definitions on the first page.
Yeah.
It's easy to get to difficult. And once you're at difficult, things are hard. So it's paradoxical in that way, if I'm using the word paradoxical correctly.
Why? Because this is a podcast mainly for, it's a podcast I wish I had 20 years ago, right?
That's cool.
So it's for someone that wants to make an impact in the world of performance, specifically health and fitness. And this is something that I wish someone had explained to me many moons ago. Why do you think it's so necessary for people in Justin in my field to be well versed in what you just said?
To help people like themselves more. Because when someone can clarify, you saw that word come up a couple of times in our workshop today, unprovoked.
Right.
When someone can use their words and their breath in a certain way to create space and clarity then it's easier to focus on the things that are important to them and make them happen. Now, I'm 47, and I've lived long enough to, and I can reference versions of myself for this too. The people that do the things, they get the things done that they want to get done, they do the things that they want to do that interest them, they tend to like themselves more. And in my opinion, personal and professional, that's one of the best gifts we can give to other people in our life, is to be interested in things, explore those interests, develop our passions, commit to our purposes, and like being us. Because if we don't like being us, what? We expect other people to like us, but we don't like us? How's that supposed to work?
God, I have a lot of questions along that train of thought. Why do you think this is such an epidemic of people not liking themselves? Now, I use the word epidemic. You didn't say that.
Yeah, it is.
Why are we at a place where we even need this kind of coaching?
Because people's breath is trapped in their chest. We got a glitch in our language. People don't know how to, they don't know to or how, they don't have the know to or the how to put the fires out in their head, to go get the scary stories, pick up that pen, even though it weighs 600 pounds, and go get the scary stories. They don't know how to give themselves credit for things. And then we have a glitch in the everyday ordinary language that people use. And so that all adds up to breath trapped in the chest. And it's really hard to like being yourself. It's really hard to feel comfortable in your skin when your breath is trapped in your chest. And that gives off a total vibe, man. And people around us pick up on it. We gift it to our children. Parents gift their children their breathing patterns. That's why you signed up for level 1, if I'm remembering that correctly.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that did not, I've told that story a number of times, dude. That did not, I mean, I took that one in. I was like, okay, I was a keeper. And yeah, so if we're, did I say this? I said this on graduation today. We're known as the language people, and that's cool. And push comes to shove, it's about the breath. I'm here to help people unlock their breathing. And the best way that I know how to do that is with a pen and a piece of paper or a Google Doc.
Now, I want to hear, and I want you to explain like the steps of what it is that you do, but what is the story that he's referring to?
So my daughter was born December 4th, and we had just a stressful situation happen with family dynamics that day. And my son is sitting there. My wife had just given birth. I have all the energy in the world because, you know, that's an easy but we're all sleep deprived, and my wife is getting worked up. My son's getting worked up. The nurse is stressed out. Health-wise, everything's fine, but just a lot of stress. And I had just listened to y'all's podcast.
Oh, cool.
And Mark was talking about just breathe slower, see what happens. So I just sat there and I just started breathing really slow. And then my son, who's 4, he looked at me, he started breathing a little bit slower. And then we're all kind of talking slower. Then my wife is breathing slower. And I was like, hey, how are we feeling? Are we feeling okay? Is everything better? And then if you ask my wife, she's like, it didn't happen that way. But
did she have an unmedicated delivery?
oh, yeah.
Then what does she know?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She was all drugged up.
Saucy.
But no, it was awesome. And I've been taking those things.
That's cool, man.
And running with it, you know, just breathe, man.
Yeah. You know, on the lines of parents, I do the same thing. You know, if part of my French, if shit hits the fan, the first thing we do is we go in the other room, no words, and they know what I'm going to say. It's like, hey, let's take a deep breath. And, you know, some of them are getting old enough where now I can explain like the physiology of it and why this is so important and what happens when breath is trapped in the chest. But explanation is not really needed.
Right.
Along the lines of that story, it's like people get it, you know. And I think what you were saying, Mark, is that at some point we forget it. And maybe that's the maybe that's the hard part of just being an adult is like there's so many situations that are stressful and no one's teaching us how to breathe, or it's so autonomic, it's so unconscious that it's one of those things like set your fork down in between bites of food. Like it sounds so stupid because it's so basic, but it's like the basic stuff is being overlooked. So I want to talk about this thing that you got on the table here, but I'm going to wait for that. That's going to be our grand finale.
It's a topic.
It's a real conversation starter here. You look like you're traveling on foot, and is that like a
kind of like a Wheel of Time?
Yeah. What's the show where they cut each other's heads off?
It's like a kung fu show.
Oh man, it's a Highlander. Yeah, it's like that's on your back. You're just going from town to town.
I knew I was going to walk in here with this for 2 weeks ago. I drove from starting on Friday night. It's Tuesday now. Yeah, so I drove from Virginia and parked it at Hot Springs, which I always do. When I had a steak where Al Capone used to go have a steak, and came on down here. And this morning, graduated his class, did his workshop, grabbed a coffee. We got over here as soon as we could, and I was like, I'm walking in. I'm walking in Spencer Nix's gym with the DNA key. Everybody.
Well, the people that are listening and watching this, they want us to get into that right now. We're not going to do it.
No.
We're going to leave them hanging.
Yeah.
We're going to leave it to the end.
Yeah.
I want you to explain in as concise terms as possible, and I know you're really good at that, what Enlifted is. Because you've mentioned a few things like the pen and getting the story out and the breath trapped in the chest. Like, what is this thing that you are doing?
It's about awareness and creation.
I've never heard you say it that way. I like that.
Yeah. It's about awareness. We teach awareness and creation. And that is parallel to the definition of abracadabra. And yeah, so that's what Enlifted is. It's a school for awareness of words and how to use them to create what we want. Part of the byproduct of that is space and clarity, because as both of you all know, we're not much when it comes to answers. I don't want to have them. I do not want to know what my client should do with their life. And I wouldn't want to know. It'd be weird if I wanted to know, honestly. All I want to do is to help them create some space, help them create some clarity, unlock their breathing, and watch them go do whatever they're going to do. Mm-hmm. We certify coaches. We just graduated 410 today. That's 410 coaches. We got group 42 and 43. I now know when I'll be done teaching.
I saw that.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, very cool. Agenda 2030.
2030.
Yeah, December 2030 with 10 a year, which is what we're pacing at close to now. And we'll get a couple extras in here and there. I'll be done. It's the first time I've had a specific time frame. I always knew that it would be the first 100. Mm-hmm. And now I've got a specific time frame for the finish line. Yeah, so it's a school. It's a school about the abracadabra.
Which is what?
Language, words, yes. The power of words. So abracadabra does not mean magic, everybody. Even though it's magical, it translates to with my word I create, or with my word I influence. And we're doing that all day long. We're influencing what we see and what we feel and how we breathe all day, every day with our words, with our story, the story that we're telling ourselves. And most people don't know that there's a game to play. Let me back up. Most people in the mindset space think that mindset training comes down to, we'll just say coaches, mindset coaches. Mindset comes down to having the right answers for their clients' problems, motivation, and goal setting. That's what most people think it is. That's the areas that they work in. There's way more to it than that. And We specialize in the rest of this conversation.
Justin, tell us about
Words and breath, man. Words and breath. That's what it's gonna. I'm telling you, that's where the conversation about mindset is going. It's cooked. The big picture. David Goggins. I love it. I was almost on stage with him.
Let's say be careful.
Yeah, dude, I love that guy. And there's even he figured out that you got to stretch. You know, there's more to mindset than sleeping when you're dead, and no pain, no gain, and becoming unstoppable, and break through every challenge. There's way more art to it, and flow to it, and flexibility, and elegance, and beauty, and time to push, time to pull, breathing. Yeah, it's way more well-rounded than what most people would think of when they talk about someone who has a strong mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So if you took 10 people that are in the space and said, describe somebody who's got a good mindset, what would they describe? How would they describe them as? Very hard, very masculine, very yang.
High performers.
Yeah, yeah, all those things. That's only part of it. And usually that doesn't have much longevity to it.
Right.
Because they're redlining.
Mm.
What most people do for their mindset is the equivalent of a pre-workout.
Mm.
Okay? And they could get some short-term results, but that's not going to age well. And if they got honest about it, they wouldn't want their kids building and creating those kinds of mindsets either. Okay? Because people say things to them. People say stuff to them to motivate them in the gym. You've heard me say this, man. The pre-workout's got nothing on the victim mentality for how people motivate themselves in the gym. People get themselves through a hard workout by saying stuff to themselves in their head they wouldn't say to a stray dog. And they definitely wouldn't want their kids saying it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know this to be true. I ended my fight career with victim-centric motivational speeches in my head.
Mm. You know, I've studied this stuff quite a bit. I'm a big fan of yours.
Thank you.
But I've never thought of mindset coaching to be so focused on the here and the now and the short term. And I think one of the big trends in fitness is like we're starting to think like, man, what would this look like to do it for 30 years versus like how hard can we make a workout, right? And it's the same thing with what you're saying. Like the impetus to like yourself is a long-term game versus like how can you talk shit to yourself to get you through like the immediate. And I think you're absolutely right. And that's pretty cool to think like, hey, this thing that you're teaching, it's not there are other strategies that if you just had to get through something that you would implement. But the problem with and I think this is where for entrepreneurs, one of the things that you do that I think is so valuable is the Billy story, which is like, hey, these are the stories and the ways that we talk to ourselves that are dysfunctional, but those came from short-term solutions that we weaponized and allowed to like run rampant. Great word. So it's like, you mentioned David Goggins, and then I'll shut up, and I do want to hear about your experiences. I think he's done this thing that worked really well short term, and he's talked to himself that way as long as he's been in the public eye, and people see that and be like, this is great. And I think like, man, it's not a great way to talk to yourself.
What's that going to look like when he's 78?
Yeah.
What's that going to look like when he's 78?
Yeah.
Dude, that's what most people are running for their mindset to power them through things. It's the equivalent of a Red Bull and a credit card.
Mm-hmm.
You'll feel it. Now, you're also going to feel it later.
Mm-hmm.
And when someone's shit-talking themselves through a workout, they have turned their fitness practice into a punishment for them not being good enough.
Yeah.
They've turned their fitness practice into a punishment for them not being good enough. And if we go in there, and we know how to do it, dismantle the victim mentality and unlock their breathing, then they've got the opportunity to turn their fitness practice into a celebration of them being able to do it. Because there's 1 million people on the planet that would give everything they've got to be able to walk in these doors and go do any of those exercises. People in wheelchairs, people don't have legs, people are paralyzed from the neck down from a car accident. And when it's turned into a celebration, that's got longevity written all over it. Oh, and by the way, your face is going to look a lot better. Okay, my grandfather, he never needed to. He never worked out a day in his life because he built boats by hand. That whole side of my mom's family were German master boatsmiths. They had a marina. They built the best skipjacks in the Chesapeake Bay. And he he goes, if I ever see somebody smiling while they're running, I'll give it a try. And if you look at the average person's face in there, maybe not just in your gym, but the average, go to Planet Fitness. It's not resting bitch face, it's active cocksucker face.
Dang.
That'll probably be the quote. That'll be the thumbnail that will.
That's got to be the title of this episode.
Probably,
for sure.
probably so. Yeah.
And then we'll pull out the DNA. Yeah.
You know what's funny about you saying people would die to give him $10 million to be able to walk in here? A few years ago, I'm in our gym squatting, and we're right up on that main street. And I'm squatting pretty heavy. I'm training to weight lift. And I say out loud, I hate this. I absolutely hate this. I don't want to freaking do it anymore. I'm like yelling. I got Nirvana playing. I'm just in a negative mindset. And this dude from the senior center rolls by with no legs in his little electric wheelchair in the middle of the road, sees me, hears me. Buddy, I would love to do one squat, and then rolls on by. And I was just like, so I was like, I get to squat right now. And man, I'm like bawling.
I bet.
Bawling.
That's another Justin story.
That's a good
Buddy,
one.
I would love to do one rep. I mean, I'll never forget it. And he's Lieutenant Dan, and he just, I would love to do one rep. And and I see this guy maybe every 6 months.
Oh, he's
still
a
alive.
constant reminder.
He's still rolling around downtown.
God
Garland.
love him.
And I've told him, I'm like, hey man, you've shifted my mindset about working out. Are you still squatting? I'm like, not as heavy, but I still squat. And I think about you every time. I don't want to do it.
Wow.
That's tremendous.
What a gift.
What a gift.
What a gift that was.
Yes.
Justin, tell us about your experience going through Enlifted. I've seen you in the time that I've known you, dare I say, transform, learn new ways of thinking, new ways of operating. I'm really excited to hear how this was for you as an individual and then even as a coach, because this wasn't just for you personally, but I know you want to take this and turn it around towards helping other people.
The first thing that I wrote down today was that I learned to get over myself. Like all this attachment to things that I've had for hurts for 2 decades and things, and the time that I've been working with you guys and working with you, working with Chad, it just all kind of culminated to the last 4 months or so, and I just kept hearing this, I just got to get over it. I got to get over it. And then one day I was like, I got to get over me. You know, just got to get over me. And then it's been manageable. Like everything's just been so much more manageable.
What do you mean by that? You got to get over yourself. Like in what way?
The whole, you know, as a gym owner, you have a team and bills, and you're competing with other gyms, and you see different people in different situations, and you think, well, why can't that be me? You know, all the bullshit, you know, why not us? Why are we not? And then you find yourself not working on a project for 8 years because you think you're believing these lies, right? And I don't know if I was telling Mark this earlier. I don't know if you remember, there was one day talking about my Misogi, which you've talked about Misogis on here before. So if you're a first-time listener, dial it back. But
And
We'll just
hit the
we'll
subscribe
point somewhere.
button.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe, guys. Make sure you like this video and all the videos that we do. Yeah.
Yes.
Make sure you give us a 20-star review. Yeah, thanks so much for subscribing. Anyways, keep going.
But I'm talking about my Misogi, and I'm doing these things and talking about this big run that I've for years avoided doing, running around White Rock. And on the call, you said, "What's the difference between you and the guy you want to be?" And I was like,
That's good.
"That's a great question."
That's
right?
exactly what I said. I was like,
That's good.
Yeah.
that's a high level
And
question.
he just hits me with that, and I'm thinking, and I said, "The guy that I want to be is doing the things I want to do." And you made that face.
I make this face often.
Yeah.
You were like,
Nice.
and you just let that sit. So I trained for the Misogi, and I did my Misogi, and I was like, dang, the guy that I want to be does the things that I want to do. So that's where we're at. I'm not getting in my own way.
Dude, that's awesome. It would, in reflecting back on what you said, what it sounds like is like, hey, there's every one of us, when we let these feelings that we have go rampant, it's very easy to fall into this victim mentality, right? It's okay to feel certain ways, but to not trap that on paper, to not analyze the emotions that we have, it's very easy to let that escalate to a level where it's like, man, it's me against the world, right?
Yeah.
Man, I wish I had it as good as these guys had it. And what I hear you say is like, oh, I'm just going to retire, like that notion. That part of me that's very easy to go there, which I can absolutely relate to. It's like, I'm just going to, that guy will probably always be there, but he's not going to have a say in this conversation moving forward. Right. That's awesome, man. I feel like I've been, ripping Mark off in lots of ways, but actually going through
That's the point.
going through the course, what were some of the big takeaways that you had, like big tools where it's like, oh man, I'm going to say that, I'm going to use that. Cause I know for me, there was a ton of that stuff. You said it earlier, Mark, like not feeling like I had to be an expert completely changed. No joke. That completely changed everything that we do here.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I can't emphasize that enough. And then even as we do a little coach's course, it's like that's a huge foundational component that as we try to design new behaviors for people or, figure out like from a lifestyle standpoint what's going to work, like just admitting that we're not going to get it right and we're not experts, and the only person that can really tell us what they need to do is the person that we're working with, right? Huge life-altering singular sentence that I got from the course. How about you? For
me, the greatest of all coaching question. What does that mean about you? That's been something that I've been going to that well like crazy the last few weeks. What does that mean about you? What does it say about you? And then make them write it down. And then getting to the place where, like I shared earlier, a lady that hasn't slept for 4 months that I've known for 15 years. And I would say if I told her to run through a wall, she would run through that wall. And I've never thought about coaching her in a way, in the way that I've always wanted to. I've always had this dream of, to steal from you, being Gandalf. Like I think that's it. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there talking to her, and we just get into this real deep reason why she can't sleep, and we write it down. Let's change the words. Let's realize that's a lie, that the thing you're telling yourself. What do you really believe in the situation? Let's write that down. Let's breathe through it. And then a week later, I'm sleeping better. Okay, good. And then 2 weeks after that, I'm trying to leave my office, and I'm walking out on the floor, and she grabs my arm. I'm like, okay. And she never does this. And you met her today. She's a quiet personality. I've slept through the night the last 2 weeks. I was like, shoot, okay. And she goes, thank you for doing that for me. And I was like, I didn't do anything for you. So we just got to a point where you did it for you. You had the answer right there. All I did was ask some questions, and we worked through it, and you did it. And then you got other people then just like, hey, well, what's this about? But I've always wanted that. I've always wanted to be Gandalf, to be the person that you're delivering this huge emotional impact to your clients. I say, like, I don't want to squat away sadness. You can't fitness away your feelings. And we're in a huge depression epidemic. You know, it's crazy. It's killing our kids. It's killing, try not to get emotional, but it's killing people. And it's based off of lies. And people walk into a gym vulnerable. They walk in already knowing I have something wrong with me that I want to change, and they don't usually know what it is. And if I were to ask you, it's probably the same for our people. Most of the people that come into your place probably just want to lose fat and want to look better naked. But really, they got shit going on from childhood. They got a horrible relationship with health and wellness. They have a horrible relationship with stress management, all these things. But because they've come into this space with us being vulnerable, then you're probably in the same boat that I am, where people feel like, and I've done it with you, you know, hey man, can I pick your brain for an hour and a half? And it becomes this like therapy session that I feel like I need to call my insurance and see if I can get you on my copay or something. But we just have these clients that trust us.
Yeah.
And so being able to help them in a way that I've always wanted to help them is huge. Got 10 people that we're going through this stuff with, and it's changing the game.
Justin, that's the most Gandalf shit I've ever heard.
Let's go.
I mean, I think you painted like a really cool picture. And back to what Mark said at the beginning, it's like, man, everybody that walks through the door has probably got some issue of not liking themselves as much as they potentially could. When I did the Unlifted, I would say, oh man, I'm good. I didn't go into that with these huge chains weighing me down, but on the other end of it, I realized, oh, I could definitely do a better job of liking myself. And I think the words you just said and the way that you just painted that is a beautiful way of connecting mindset to this work of coaching people's fitness. Like, they're intimately attached. I think from a depression standpoint, like, yeah, the verdict's out. Like, physical activity is intimately tied to maybe not eradicating that, but at least managing that. But how could you do that without having some type of conversation about the words and the stories that are on constant repeat?
Which is what got him in the pickle to begin with.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
But and from a coach being in a space of, don't just give them a book to read. Atomic Habits, that's great. Let's do it. Cool. I love it. But let's go listen to a podcast, bro. Oh, cool. I love it. Awesome. But to have practical things to actually do, let's change your freaking words. Let's write it down. Let's change your words. Let's breathe. And people are just, I mean, I had a girl the other day say, it's the first time in 10 years that I've said I like myself. I'm like, can we try to say I love myself? We cried. What? She cried. We didn't trauma bond. I'm gonna own that.
Yeah.
But she had some tears and she said it, and then she's like, I don't know if I believe it. And I was like, okay, well, you don't have to say it. Okay. 3 days later, texted me, hey, I know I'm supposed to give you a heads up on my homework in a week, but day 3, I said I love myself and I believed it for the first time. I'm just like, and then you know what the other correlation that happened? Homegirls come to the gym every day. And this is one of my like habitual line steppers, where she'll be strong for 2 weeks and then I won't see her for 2 weeks. Something throws her off, and we always have her. She's come every day for 3 weeks. I'm just like, come on now.
Wow.
What was one of the titles to the people's celebrating the progress titles today. I love her.
I love her.
Yeah, and she was talking about herself. She's like, because I asked, I was like, what's your progress about? Being more patient with myself, something along those lines. And I said, what's the title? She goes, I love her. I go, take out her, put in me. I love me. She goes, oh. It's like, there's a dialing in with the words that, well, I mean, if you want to hit bullseyes with people, it's where mindset's going. I'm calling it. I've been saying it for years. I'm saying it again. I'll say it tomorrow. It's going to the words. What words do you use more of and why, and what words do you use less of and why? I mean, what did you see in the workshop?
I saw a guy that I've known for 16 years try to put a simple story win down, and he's going to watch this, and I hate that I'm referencing it. But I'm getting more sleep. And for him, that is a big deal, right? I know that there's other bigger emotional things he could have dug into in that. But, I see people kind of doing this, and then they write it down. We read it. We feel it. And it's like, oh, shoot. That actually is a huge deal. It is a huge accomplishment. Someone talked about going through a tough divorce and then went from here to just loosey-goosey.
Yep.
And just feeling it and laughing and feeling hopeful.
We had those two, a connection with God.
Yeah.
That got more brought into him, and then a woman that gave herself credit for leaving a situation that she wasn't being treated well.
Yeah.
And what did we do it with? Did it with a pen and a piece of paper and words and breath. That's it. Just those two levers. That's it.
That's your everyday carry.
That's
well, I think his everyday
language
carry
now,
has
bro.
shifted.
What's your EDC? Pen, pad, words, breath. Yes. For work, that's good. That's good. That's good. I was about to say a Glock 42. Yeah. No. 18 feet of rope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, body armor.
Yeah. Like we've gone on too long at an awards ceremony, the music's playing in the background, but before we close and we look at this Highlander apparatus, you got something going on, professional coaching course.
Oh, yeah.
What's the date of that?
June 22nd. Thank you.
What is it?
So it is coaches coaching coaches on coaching.
I like that. That's some good alliteration right there.
C's.
I'll give you straight A's, man.
I went to a seminar 8-9 years ago and really enjoyed it, but there was a lot of gatekeeping information, which I get it. I was in sales for forever, so I get it. Like, you hooked me, and then you wanted to give me your 2-year course. And then I did a thing at one point where I had an ongoing situation where it was just more like layers and layers and layers. And then now that I'm a business owner, there's a lot of things that I wish that I knew. And there's a lot of things that when I was a full-time coach, I was a full-time coach for 9-10 years. I still am, I guess. Take out, I guess. I caught that, right?
Yeah, you still are.
That's soft talk, everybody.
To land the plane, sales is important. Not enough people know how to qualify leads. And you're sitting here selling, and you're trying to use car salesman fitness, and then you want to go build a freaking emotional connection with the guy after you swindled him to get into your door. That sucks. And you're wasting time. You're paying $1,000 for leads, all these things. So I want to go over that. That's a big part of it. The other thing is retention. We've been tracking retention for 16 years, and I've been tracking it myself for the last 11. And there are things you can do to retain your clients. And if you ever went to the Michael Scott School of Business, is it cheaper to get a new client or keep an existing client? And it's 10 times cheaper to keep an existing client. and then building a community. I love what you guys have here. That's why I'm drawn to coming out here and escaping, being a gym owner. We have a strong community as well, and it doesn't happen by accident. I've heard you say that a bunch of times.
Yeah.
You're intentional. There's boundaries. There's things. So
There's a bobcat in the corner.
There is a. We could turn that. There's a bobcat in the corner. That guards his community.
Yeah.
So there's
that bobcat's older than I am.
Really?
Yeah. I wish
Seen
these
some
people
things.
could see. Yeah. It's seen some things for sure. It's
But-
got asbestos on it for sure. Sorry, keep going.
No,
Justin.
but that's all we're doing is we're going to go through sales retention. We're going to go through community, and then we're going to go through scaling. I'm really going to walk people through how I as a full-time coach went from getting paid per class to making about $75,000 a year and not working 60 hours a week.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna then tell you to take my 12-week course after that. I'm just gonna give you the information. Like, you're gonna have to pay for it a little bit, but I'm a firm believer that if Spencer's succeeding, if all the other gyms that are kind of trying to change the culture, like we're trying to change the culture, if they're succeeding, we're gonna succeed. I'm not on your block trying to steal your people.
Yeah.
So
Very cool. June 22nd.
June 22nd at noon, and spots are. This is not a sales tactic. Spots are moving. I might actually have to move from our gym to a bigger location.
What a great
So-
problem to have.
Yeah. How fortunate. So sign
Awesome.
up.
And you, 44th level 1 coming up?
Yeah, man. We group 44, 5, 6, and 7. It's always a little weird and cool, like the right kind of weird, when we stack the next block of certs on there. Because I remember the first one, and there's only going to be 100 that I'm going to do. So, yeah, we've got those. Those are coming up in August, September. They're 9-week courses, 10 people per cert, small batch. I facilitate all the trainings. So,
Very cool.
What about you?
Going surfing in a couple of weeks.
oh, cool. Where?
Encinitas.
Oh, nice.
Driving all the way out there. Camping on the beach. But yeah, we'll do another coach's course in August.
Yes.
And yeah, I think Chad's going to do a programming thing this
nice.
summer as well.
Nice.
Yeah.
Can I give you a review on the BPR Institute?
Oh, certainly.
Place is dope.
It is if you're here in Dallas, you need to come train here. So that's the first thing. But the institute you're doing, getting coaches the tools that we need to be more effective coaches. I don't even know if you have to be a coach to get everything out of that. If you work with people, it's a game changer. So a lot of the things that we were talking about, you hit on a bunch of those things. And then the cool thing is then you give a real system for assessing people. And then you give a lot of support. So I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Thank you.
And that became a thing for me that then spurred on, how are y'all doing this thing so well? And asking those questions. And then you and Mara were like, well, check out Unlifted.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. It's got its DNA everywhere
Yeah.
here, I feel like.
Yeah.
And everybody from Jeremy Teal to Charlie Lima to you, everybody that's in fitness says the same thing. It's like, hey, this is intimately attached to what we're doing now, and thank God for that.
Yeah.
You know. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you for putting this together.
What do you got in this case here?
I'm so excited.
Well,
And nervous.
I can hold your microphone when you need me to
Okay.
as well.
so sometimes you'll find yourself
Oh my gosh, this buildup is ridiculous.
on the internet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By
Yeah,
yourself.
certainly. Yeah.
Okay. Alone.
That's a dangerous game.
Yeah. Researching tuning forks. Okay.
As one
Yeah,
does.
as one does.
Who hasn't
As
been
one
there?
does,
Yeah, we've all. It's okay, everybody. You can admit it.
Regular Tuesday
Yeah.
for me. Yeah.
Just about to say that.
Yeah.
I call that a Tuesday at my house.
Yeah. Yes. And sometimes the rabbit holes are deeper than others, and so I'm doing that alone. And
Well, not right now. We're here.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can finally talk about this now. And I was not impressed with what I was seeing until this website called EarthTuned presented itself. And I clicked on it. And what I saw was very impressive. And Kimberly, I bought her. So that right there is a DNA key. I bought her because she's rad. A sound sword, which is half of that. So that's 2 sound swords put together.
Oh,
And
double bladed.
That's the coolest name.
Yeah.
Dual wielding sound swords.
Bro. And it was for the crown chakra. Okay, so we're talking about vibration here.
Sure.
And
yeah.
and I'm going to point now where I can talk about vibration. I can focus on vibration more because I've focused so much on timing and logistics. So fighters talk about tactics. Generals talk about logistics. A lot of times amateurs will talk about vibration when they should be talking about rhythm and timing. And because that's downstream of it. You get your rhythm and your timing down, like long term, then you can get into the specifics of vibrations. Like somebody's working on their vibration, but you know, their finances are a wreck, their home life sucks, they can't sleep, but they're working on their vibration. It's like, no, you got stuff to take care of. So it's down, and so my life's cooking, my life's great. And so I'm like, let's polish up the vibration. So I get Kimberly a sound sword, and she falls in love with it immediately. Because not only do they look cool as hell, you feel it.
Love at first sight.
Love at first sight, especially if you're into a little bit of the woo, which we are sometimes. And then I bought myself one of these, and then she gets the guy on our podcast and interviews him. This guy named Josh, and time to unveil.
Yeah.
The anticipation is
Say no more. Do I need to hold this up to... God, look at the unsheathing of this thing.
this is a whole other level. So are these specially? You have to get these specially made. Like
These are custom.
I was not expecting it to be a tuning fork. I did not. Here we go.
So I'm gonna whack this thing.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna hand it to you. So
Okay.
I will switch up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm ready.
And then you just
Okay.
grab it like that.
Okay.
Ready?
Yeah. E equals MC squared.
what's happening? Describe the vibe.
Dude, it's nice.
What does this say about you?
I can see into the future.
That shit'll ring like that for 10 minutes.
Will it really?
Yeah.
I've seen all of my childhood trauma, and I'm now healed. Wow. It's pretty good, man. It's pretty good.
Dude, it's essentially a shower for your etheric field. Wow. It works even better when you're not on a microphone and you're
For
just
sure.
standing there holding it, which we'll
Yeah.
do when we're done.
Okay.
And it's a hell of a conversation starter.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
You take this thing to a party,
It's on.
you're the most interesting person there.
Yeah.
Guys, if you're single and you're looking for conversation starters, we took a left turn,
I'm
didn't we?
speechless, man. I'm speechless. Hey, thanks for joining us on this podcast. We'll see you on the next one.